Welcome to Performing Data in Australasia, a project for researchers who are interested in utilising data from live performing arts databases.
Kia ora, I'm Dr. Sarah Thomasson and I'm a senior lecturer at Te Herenga Waka, Victoria University of Wellington.
Data as Flow traces the distribution of performance in space using maps of venues, touring and events. Performance has always been underpinned by movement, whether this be the way that performers and characters circulate around venues or cities, or how travelling has always gone hand in hand with performance events through touring. Performance has intrinsic mobility, as Fiona Wilkie suggests. Scholars are paying increasing attention to theatre and performance's transnational history and cultural flows. This has prompted many to think about how theatre is and has been disseminated throughout the world, and the traces that it has left. The mobility turn, as it is often referred to, is an interdisciplinary scholarly effort to, as Wilkie suggests, pay closer attention to the interaction between the transmission of ideas, capital and information, and the physical movement of people. Some scholars, like Christopher Baum, have used network theory to think about these questions. Baum's study of the career of actor-manager Maurice E. Bandmann during the period of early globalization uses the terminology of actor network theory, circuits, nodes, edges, hubs, and so forth, to make visible a complex, even abstract theatrical network. Digital tools have proven very effective in visualizing the kind of connectivity articulated by Baum. It is also effective in demonstrating that performance is inherently mobile. Mapping data spatially can assist scholars to discover new connections and thereby generate dynamic spatial histories. Dance scholars Harmony Bench and Kate Elswit claim that the digital humanities offer huge potential for demonstrating how touring interacts with large ecosystems of performance. The benefit of data visualization is that it can present dance data sets in a way that is more immediately comprehensible. For example, digital tools have enabled multiple data sets to be layered and superimposed on top of one another, resulting in more effective visualizations. Bench and Elswit advocate for an approach that involves databases, mapping, and narrative interpretation, arguing that it facilitates analysis not only about how people and objects travel from point to point, but also about their embodied ways of moving, both in place and in transit. They undertook such an approach in their analysis of two ballet company tours given in South America, one by Anna Pavlova's company during World War I and another by American Ballet Caravan during World War II. In this study, they utilised the open access mapping platform Kato to map the key locations of these tours. Technological innovations have resulted in scholars being able to create interactive mapping resources that give users more control over the datasets. Christopher Swift's The City Performs is an interactive spatio-temporal map of the theatres in New York City from the 15th century to the present day. Subtitled An Architectural History, the resource comprises the city block locations as well as brief summaries for over 400 historical and contemporary performance spaces in the 5 boroughs. Active and inactive theatres are colour-coded, and the map is accompanied by written history, organised chronologically. An example closer to home is Circuit. Circuit is a mapping tool developed at the University of Melbourne that traces the circulation of recent shows and performances from 1965 to the present, and aims to provide a more complete picture of the Australian theatrical ecosystem. It uses data derived from the AusStage database, but builds on it, adding demographic data about population density, youth, economic and diversity indicators. It allows users to download customised graphs focusing on categories of choice. Zooming in even further to the level of the city is the exhibition Performing Sydney. Performing Sydney similarly used the AusStage database to collect information about where theatres were located in Sydney and when they were actively in use, but combined this with the material in the Dennis Wolanski Library, a physical archive. The exhibition used a range of visualisation tools, such as steam graphs and alluvial diagrams, to counter the argument that the story of theatrical production in Sydney is one of decline. In fact, the exhibition revealed that theatre in Sydney is a story of growth, more venues, presenting more performances in a wider range of genres to growing audiences. Steam graphs were used to show a century of activity in Sydney theatres, with each colour representing a different venue. The more activity at the venue, the thicker the line in the steam graph. An accompanying time-lapse video, which used maps created with QGIS software, showed the emergence and decline of theatres in the Sydney area. These digital visualizations were usefully accompanied by a story, short explanatory text that summarised the changes that had occurred over time. Finally, displayed alongside these materials were a range of physical posters, an approach Boland describes as mix and match. So once you have a research question, where to start? Well, there are a range of mapping tools available to researchers that can be used to create spatiotemporal maps and data visualizations. The Australian Live Performance Database, AusStage, has a mapping tool that allows researchers to search for contributors, venues, organisations, events and works and add them to a customised map. You can also use Google Maps. Then there are other options, like Palladio, a tool developed by Stanford University, or QGIS, an open-source, free geographic information system. This is the tip of the iceberg. Researchers are spoilt for choice when it comes to systems that can support their investigations of how performance moves.